forehead and visualize a very subtle, shining point of light. Look at yourself, that point of light in the center of the forehead. The energy, the master, resides here and takes charge of this body. I, the being in the center of the forehead, radiate God's purity to every cell of my body. My body is healed with God's energy. I, the being, am an embodiment of peace. Peace, the original nature of the soul. I am full of peace. I, the being, radiate God's love to everyone around me. Gently remind yourself, I am a peaceful soul. I, the divine being, full of God's love, purity, and peace. Vibrations of peace radiate from me out into this universe. I, the soul, detach myself from this world and my body. Look at yourself, that tiny point of light traveling upwards. I, the soul, am rising above this planet. I am going home. Crossing the sun, the moon, and the stars. I, the soul, have reached home. It's a region of divine light, a land of complete stillness and peace. It's just peace and peace all around me. The soul world, my home. I see before me a very bright, shining point of light. My Father, God, the Supreme Power, just like me, another soul, very powerful, ocean of divinity and unconditional love. I, the soul, am sitting with God. God, the energy with whom I can experience all my relationships. God, my father, my mother, my teacher, my guide. God, my friend, my companion. God's unconditional love and powers are flowing towards me. I, the soul, am getting filled with God's love. God, the Supreme Power, is the ocean of peace. Peace, that one feeling the whole world is looking for. The ocean of peace is my Father. God's peace radiates from me to the entire world. It's reaching every soul who is looking for peace. I am a radiator of God's peace. It's just peace and peace all around me. The soul world, my home. I, the soul, am getting filled with God's peace. I am full of God's peace. I, the Divine Being, full of God's love, purity, and peace. If there's anything troubling me, a problem or a question, I can ask Him. God, my best friend. I share it with Him and I'm feeling light. I am His child. He is my friend, my companion, my teacher and parent. God is always with me. I, the being, radiate God's love to everyone around me. His power gives me the strength to heal my relationships. I, the soul, full of God's love and purity, now have the power to create unconditional happiness, health, harmony in my relationships, and heaven in this world. I, the soul, am now returning from my home to the world where I have come to play my part. Let me look at myself, that tiny point of light, now traveling back to the world, crossing the sun, moon, and the stars, traveling towards the planet. I, the soul, have come back into this world, into my body, the place where I reside. The center of the forehead. I have come back to play my part, to fulfill all my responsibilities. But now I am full of God's knowledge, love, and purity. Om Shanti.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, how are you this evening?
Nice to be well, thank you.
Good, good. So, I hope you had a little chance to just go within and come into a space of stillness and silence, because that is the freedom of the soul. In the world, we are so bound in so many ways by our roles, our responsibilities, the variety of things that we have to do in our day-to-day lives. But at times we can have the fortune with our state of consciousness just to step within and go above. It's not that I physically leave my body, but it's a state of consciousness that I maintain. And it's in that space that I experience real freedom. And tonight's topic is a very beautiful topic, something that I think many of us talk about. This morning I was doing a radio program, and it's one of the questions that came up so often. How do I set healthy boundaries? And how do I set those boundaries without feeling guilty? And so this evening, we're going to explore that aspect and take it deeper and work with that flow. But before I start, I'd love to hear from any one of you. When you thought of this topic, what came for you? What made you join this evening, saying, oh, no, tonight I have to tune in? What is it that triggered for you as you thought of this topic, boundaries without guilt? Anyone?
Hi.
Hello, Gertie.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So I just want to say that my name is Gertie, first of all, and this is my first time joining the Zoom meetings.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. I was motivated by my husband to be, because this particular topic is a conversation that we've been.
Yes. Okay, great. Anyone else? What motivated you to say, I have to put on this and spend some time about this topic, boundaries without guilt? Anyone else? Great, Sherry. Wonderful. Anyone else? So this afternoon when we were sharing, I was doing a radio program and this topic had come up about boundaries. And it became very, very important to be able to understand why do we want to create boundaries and what is the boundary there for? So I think one of the areas that we first have to explore before I want to create a boundary is to understand what it is that I value and who it is that I am. And until I'm not comfortable in knowing who I truly am and what is my life all about, and if that picture is not clear for me, then I can't set the right boundaries. And I won't even know about the word boundaries. The word boundaries may only appear in my dictionary when I feel an ouch moment and I think, no, this doesn't feed me anymore. And as a result of that, I think, I say to myself, I think I need to set a boundary. So what arrives at that point where I say, I need to set a boundary? What is it that is compromised in my journey that says to me, I need to set a boundary? And I think before I know what is compromised, I actually need to know who I am and to value that journey of who I am. And I think this is a very, very important aspect within our journey. I think every day it's so important to explore my full identity and to know that beyond my roles, beyond my responsibilities, beyond my routines, there's me, this being of energy, who is whole. And this being of energy has the most beautiful qualities. Some of you have done the course, the meditation course, so you understand this language that I'm speaking. But it's really the whole aspect of knowing that I am just pure energy. I'm light, I'm peaceful, I'm loving, I'm pure, I'm a happy soul. Now, right now, in the state, I may not be feeling any of that due to circumstances, due to life's challenges. So many things may have happened in my way. And therefore, I don't feel so aligned to that real identity of who I am. Well, it may sound like a nice idea, but there's another word or another feeling that comes. I don't feel that right now. This is not me. But the more and more I begin to discover that there's a part of me that is whole. There's a part of me that's radiant. There's a part of me that knows how to experience a sense of well-being. When I discover that part of myself, that's the part of myself I want to sustain. And this is the beginning of our journey. Who am I and what it is that I want to sustain? And so we see today in the world, because people at times forget their identity of just who they are, then they have to be so many things to so many people that over a period of time, people say, I just don't know who I am anymore. I have to be this to this person, and I have to be that in my work, and I have to be something else to my children. And so as a result of that, there is such a push and pull within life's journey. And that strain that comes, then emerges the thought within myself, I have to set boundaries. And sometimes when we set those boundaries in that state of being, we are highly emotional or fed up or tired. And we say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore, or I'm not going to be this anymore. And sometimes the way it comes out may be from an emotional space. And when it comes out from an emotional space in that way, even the people in our life will react through an emotion. So if I have a vibration that I'm fed up, they pick up the fed up vibration and they see my boundary from that space of fed upness. And when that space arises, then I can't really feel comfortable because the energy is still negative. In my spiritual journey, I have learned that over and over again, I ask myself this question over and over, Dipti, just know who you are. And as I discover more and more who I am, I find it easy to sustain what I truly am. And when I'm able to sustain what I truly am, then the boundaries become natural. It's not a forced boundary. And then I wouldn't even use the word boundary, but I would use the word self-respect. And so the boundary is certainly a word that is put as a word of protection. So I want to protect something within myself, and therefore I set a boundary. But when I take a different state of consciousness and a different paradigm of thinking, and I say to myself, this is who I am, and this is what I value. And when I realize this is what I value, then this is what I'm going to sustain. Like, for example, let me take it step by step. For me, I have understood that in order for me to really be centered in who I am and generate my inner resources powerfully each day, the morning time is very important for me. Because I also have the understanding that that is the time of the day where I get a lot of cooperation from the energy fields around me. There's less vibrational pollution in the air. There's less airwaves in the air, especially of all our digital devices. But also during that time, early in the morning, the gravitational pull of the earth is at its lowest. And that is why, if you see many people who are making deep spiritual effort or deepening themselves in a certain way, they take maximum benefit of that morning time. Any person who's deepened that space of inner transformation, that space of inner building journey, they will come into a space of taking maximum benefit in the morning time. Now, for myself, I value that time very much. So the first thing is I get up early. And the people in my life know that at least till 7 o'clock in the morning, I am silent. Whatever it is that I'm doing is for my spiritual growth. Doesn't mean that I'm unnatural. It doesn't mean that I don't engage with people, but I value silence in that morning time. Because I know after 7 o'clock, I have many things that I have to attend to. So it's something that I value. And people know that if there's a state of emergency, something urgently has to be spoken about, if something urgently has to be done, then in that moment, I'm available. It's not that I say, no, I can't be available to you. But there's a quiet, powerful message that is around everywhere, that I value silence and I value the morning time. And I sustain that effort with consistency. So it's not like 5 days I say I'm going to be silent, and then the 6th day I'm totally extroverted and I forget about my morning silence. Because this is something I value, and it's something that I want to sustain. So when I do that regularly, even if somebody is trying to push it with an unnecessary kind of space, I just hold my peace and silence very comfortably. And over a period of time, they get a message. You know, I remember one day somebody just picked up the phone and called me. And I realized that she has a tendency to call early in the morning. And I don't think it was important because I know she probably would call back again if it was. And so I didn't answer the phone. I kept that time for myself. And I didn't feel bad. And after a few days, she called me and she said to me, I forgot. I just really forgot. And I know how much you value your morning time. So it's good you keep that boundary and you are willing to not answer your phone at that time. And both of us laughed. And I said, thank you so much for understanding. And so again, it comes from a space of realizing what I value. I know that if during that time I really use my inner resources properly and I use my time for the things that I have to do, and usually we have morning meditation, we have morning class, I like to prepare something healthy, I like to breathe. I like to do the things that support my body space. And yes, sometimes it has to be earlier than that, but it's something I value and I sustain. And so therefore, I'm able to say in a very natural way and give a message very naturally, this is my time. And this is a time I value. And then the people in my life realize that when they are able to give me that time, I'm so available for them in the rest of the day. Because I'm full. And because I'm full in that morning time, I can be available. So before I set boundaries, there has to be more depth to it. It mustn't come from a space of reaction. But boundaries have to come from a space of recognition and value. And when there's that recognition and value, then the so-called boundary is natural. And as I said, I would like to rather call that self-respect. And so I'm valuing myself and I'm valuing my time. So if I have an understanding of time, then again, it is the value of time that will allow me to set certain boundaries. So very often in people's lives, because they don't recognize the value of certain time, then when they get overwhelmed and when they can't cope, then they say, no, I've got too much, I'm very stressed, don't talk to me or don't come into my way. Or again, it's a reaction. And therefore, I very emotionally set a boundary because I can't manage my thoughts and I can't manage my time. And so I'm reaching a space of stress, and that is now, as a coping mechanism, I say, don't come in my way now. And my no comes from a reactionary space. But again, the second aspect, so the first thing I said, I value the morning time because I understand why it's good for me. But during the day too, I understand the energy of time and thought. That if I use my time in a certain way, my time will serve me. When I use my thoughts in a certain way, my thoughts will serve me. When I have that deep understanding and recognition of that, and I hold its value, then I will use that in a proper way. None of this comes from a space of selfishness. It's not from a space, it's my time and my thought. But I realize that if I use my time properly and I use my thought properly, there'll be a win-win for me and for you. If I'm not using my time properly and my thoughts properly, I'm in a mental state of congestion, I'm in a space of stress, and then neither am I happy, neither can I make you happy. And so again, it comes back to the word value. What is it that I value? So very often, another aspect that comes when we look at time and thoughts is the quality of my conversations. So again, from a very, very natural space, if I value certain quality of time and certain quality of thinking, my conversations with people in my life will be with a certain energy field. Now, if I don't value these two things, then over a period of time, people will talk to me about anything and everything. And then after a while, certain things that I hear, certain things I become part of, upsets me, makes me uncomfortable. And then out of that feeling, I say to them, oh, I don't want to have any more conversations with you. And don't call me at such a time, or don't have these kind of conversations. So I'm saying no to them. But that no has also not come from a healthy space. I remember, for example, I value not to gossip. It's one of the things I value. I wouldn't say that I 100% am perfect, but it's something I value. So yes, there may be times I speak about somebody, and I hope not to do it with a bad intention. But we are not yet perfect. But when I value that kind of space, then I find that other people don't come and throw their rubbish in my bin. Because I value something. And I remember one day, as a school teacher, I was in my class, and one teacher came past from a few doors away in my school, and she had some hot gossip. So she came and she said, "Oh, Dipti, I need to say something to you." And she smiled. I smiled, and she said, "Oh, no, no, no. Maybe I should go next door. I don't think these things are healthy for you and I." And she used the word healthy for you and I. And she moved with a comfort away from the place. And so again, it's like what I value is what I'll draw to myself. And so again, I didn't have to say to her, no, 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 don't talk to me about this person, don't do this, because I don't like to listen to gossip. I don't want to sound like a super holy person, a super perfect person. If I say to her, I don't want to hear gossip, then it's like sometimes she may feel, oh, you think you're too holy or whatever. But it's a personal internal decision that I had made, that in my relationships, I want to have healthy conversations. In my relationships, I want to express the original qualities of my being. And even at times when things do get tough, because not every relationship is perfect and not everything works out in your favor. But even in those times, I won't want to drop my frequency. So again, the theme is not that I set boundaries in relationships, but I set value in relationships. If I want to value my relationships, let me put certain things in place. Let me not be ugly at some times and over-pleasing at another time. Because when there is not that consistency in my relationships, then a time comes when I feel ouch in that relationship and I say, no, no, I think we just have to cut off this relationship, and I'm able to say no in that moment. So once again, firstly is what do I value in myself? And secondly, what do I value in relationships? And really, with the people that you live with, the people that you interact with, just sometimes before you get into a space where there's that familiarity and then there's an overstepping of that line, then when there's an overstepping of the line, then people take you for granted, people use you, people ignore you, people don't respect your journey. So all these things happen. But when I have self-respect and I say to myself, this is my way that I would like to step into relationships. And sometimes map it down and note it down. Think about how do you want to be with your children? For example, as a mother, you may, out of fear of not wanting to upset the child or not wanting to make the child feel that you don't love them, you overplease them and you overdo things for them. And it's coming from a space of fear and from a space within yourself when you're not secure about that relationship. So you overdo things and you overplease and you overcompensate on many levels. Then it gets too much, and then you say, no more. Sorry, I can't do this. Then the child looks at you and the child's got a mixed message. 2 days ago, the same scene made mom happy. Now, 2 days ago, or today, the same scene, and mom is thoroughly upset. So when I've said no in this moment, then that child is going to react to my no. And I too will feel guilty because I know that that no has not come from a healthy space. It has come from a space because now I can't cope anymore. I'm overwhelmed. And so again, I need to ask myself, before I set boundaries in relationships, I need to look at a question deeper than that. And that question is, what is my self-respect in this relationship? Not my ego, not my airy-fairy energy, my self-respect. I am a mother, I may be a wife, I may be a daughter, I may be an employee, but what is my self-respect? And I don't have to be loud about it, but I need to work it out. You know, even as an employee, if you don't have the self-respect in who you are, people are going to use you. People are going to abuse you. And then after a while, when it gets too much, then you say, no, I won't do this anymore. And then you feel bad because you have now given a mixed message. And so when I stay in my self-respect and I stay in my sense of value, then I have healthy boundaries. And those boundaries are natural boundaries. They're not emotional boundaries. So, for example, in the home, I may say to my children or to my spouse, this next 2 weeks or so, I have this to do and that to do, and I would really love your cooperation. And really mean it from your heart and communicate your needs in that way out of a sense of self-respect. Because if everything is bottled up inside of you, people don't know when you are feeling what you're feeling. And so sometimes we don't communicate enough. We only communicate when things get wrong, or we only communicate when I'm highly stressed and emotional about things. Then I say, I don't have time for this. I can't do this. You people always take advantage of me. But when I'm able to communicate that, especially when things are going well, acknowledge that. We only sometimes get involved when things are getting intense, and then we say, no, no. But when your child has cooperated with you, and you really acknowledge that, when your husband really understood you, and you acknowledge that, and you say, we can work together. This is beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for understanding me. Then when you need that time, or when something has to be limited in a certain way, there will be an understanding. And so what happens today, I see very often when we use the word boundaries, and I listen to many people's conversations, those boundaries have come as a protection, but from a space that may have been unhealthy. And so therefore, I'm taking this one step deeper inside and saying, before we even touch the word boundary, let us look at the word self-respect and self-value, and also the value you have for another human being. And when that value comes better, then we have healthy boundaries between each other. So it's like, for example, I wouldn't even say that there's quiet, you become silent with each other, but there's sometimes quiet time between each other. So the relationship still feels very secure. The relationship feels very intact, but you can be with each other and you can be silent. But there's a knowingness and an understanding that this is a healthy moment for both of us. So we can be around each other, but the boundary of not knowing that I have to say something, I have to do something, I have to be something, it's not there. Yeah. So I think at many times we first have to learn to work on ourselves. And this is what our spiritual journey is really about. And my personal experience in when I saw this topic given to me today about boundaries, not feeling guilty, and I thought about it in my own life, and I thought, what is it that I have had that has helped me? And it was about self-respect and self-value. And then what I don't do comes from a natural space. It's not coming from a space within my being that is an emotional reaction. And so there are many places in our lives that we need to take this kind of time. Firstly, we need to take time about how we treat ourselves. Again, it's about a self-respect and a self-value. So sometimes, people say no to certain things, but it's out of force and it's out of compulsion. And that kind of force and compulsion will never be sustainable. The other day, somebody said to me, I can't eat certain foods, and it just drives me around the bend because I love it. And so I said to her, okay, but at this moment you have a choice. You can either feel miserable about not eating that, or you can think about it for a while and realize why you can't eat it. And when she realized why she can't eat it, and she made peace with why she can't eat it, when things were offered to her and she was saying, no, thank you, the other person on the other side also understood that this has been good for this person, and therefore they've said no. The reality is that what you are comfortable with in yourself is what others around you will feel comfortable in. If you are saying no and setting a boundary in which you yourself are feeling most uncomfortable, people will take advantage of it, and they will try and push that boundary because they know you yourself are not comfortable by saying that no. And they'll take advantage of it and push that boundary. So, at times it's about really getting to know the self. And this is what our spiritual journey is about. Getting to know the self, getting to know the value of my thoughts, getting to know the value of my time, getting to know the value of my relationships. Also getting to know how I respond to the environment around me, and not to feel uncomfortable because I have an understanding about how I want to be in a certain environment. So the other day, somebody said to me, oh, so you don't eat certain foods? And I said, no. And she said, why? And I said, this is my personal principle. And I said it very comfortably. And I said, no, thanks. But because I said it from the lightness of my heart, this is what I value, the other person didn't take offense to it. And the next time when I met her, she said, I realized that there's certain things you value. And therefore, I thought today I'll prepare something else for you. But even on her side, there wasn't stress that, oh, Dipti is going to say no, or this is going to happen, or that is going to happen, you know. So our spiritual journey is about getting to know the self, drawing power from that divine source that recognizes my value and my strength, and understanding relationships, and allowing all of this to grow in self-respect. And then when that happens, self-respect and value, then I set what is called so-called boundaries without any guilt, because it's coming from a deep space of inner value. So these were thoughts in my heart and mind, and I'm sure I've triggered certain thinking for you too. So I'm very happy to engage now with you. Anything that triggered for you, anything you'd like to add to it, anything you'd like to comment on, please do. I'm very happy to engage.
Om Shanti Dipti-ben.
Hello, Sherry. Very good. Yes.
Good to see you after so long. I think a lot of the times we want the validation. I think because of the validation, we will push push ourselves beyond the boundaries. We draw the boundary, but because we want that validation, then we continue to make the same mistakes again because of validation.
Yeah, yeah. That's so true what you say. And, you know, it's again, you shared such an important word here. I need the validation. And so I can realize that my vulnerability comes in the moment of validation. So, yes, we all are human and we do need validation. But again, to see where am I taking this validation from, and never become desperate. You know, in life, there's a very powerful law. Anything you become desperate about will move further away from you. It's a law of life. So sometimes in certain relationships, you know, people become so desperate about needing a certain level of validation that they push their own boundaries because they seek that validation. And, you know, at that moment, I just have to say to myself, no, I can't do this to me. I really can't do this to me. As I am, and this is when I started with the word, inside of us, we are whole beings. We do have peace, we do have love. And you know, the beauty about it, Sherry, is that when you are comfortable and you are supporting yourself in that way, after a while, you get natural support from others. It's like maybe not the person you're desperately needing the support from, but life will support you with many other ways. It's amazing. It's quite an interesting space when you just understand what it is that you hold inside. Thank you for that, Sherry. Anybody else? Talk to me. I don't have boundaries in my conversation with you right now. What are you thinking?
Hi, Dipti. It's Gertie again.
Hello, Getty. Yes.
So, what I'm currently thinking about my situation with boundaries is, and I also like how you explain the emotional aspect of it. And I think I've come to realize that even though I felt like I was applying an emotional boundary, I've just realized that the boundary actually came out from a place of self-value or self-respect, like you put it.
Yeah.
And I think I was conflicted about that, hence the guilt. But I've just unlocked that regardless of that emotion that I think existed. I think that was a healthy boundary for me to apply.
Yeah.
And I think you put it beautifully for me, and you helped me unlock how to differentiate the two, because there's a deeper value that comes even from a facade of an emotional boundary, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank
Thank
you.
you,
I appreciate
Gurpreet. That's so valuable. Yeah. And it's such an important space. Yes, that's true, Sherry. Yeah. And so it's really that space inside. And, when we have to understand that our self-respect that we're talking about today has to be so genuine and so natural and so pure that my self-respect mustn't intimidate another human being. My self-respect has to allow them to be and I can be. And there's a powerful engagement in that moment. But sometimes people, they say, okay, I'm not setting boundaries, but I'm just staying in my self-respect in that way. But it has to be natural. It has to be gentle. It has to be powerful. And that is very, very important. I'm just reading a question here. Give me a moment. So, yeah. Okay, let me just read this. I won't compromise. The ability to say no without any guilt. No is a full sentence, yes. And again, it has to be a healthy no, I would like to hear about boundaries to see if my boundaries are sound or not. I value my peace and I'm not going to compromise anything. So boundaries is something that I definitely set. So Angie's saying, what do you do when you feel guilty, even though you know you need to put a boundary in place? Again, here I find that the guilt is not just about the situation, but the guilt is from not being comfortable inside yourself. And so I find that when you are able to work from that space inside yourself and make peace with something inside of you, then even when you say no, you won't feel bad. But if you don't make peace with something inside of you first, when you're trying to say no, you're going to feel guilty. So when we're talking about self-respect and value, and I think for me, one word that has really helped me in my life, that helps me and other people around me, is the word consistency. People need to understand you through your consistency. When people understand you, that you're not like too much of this one time and then too much of something else another time. It's not that you have to be boring, but consistency is when you stay aligned with what you value. And when you hold that level of consistency, when somebody is pushing that boundary, and people will, then you can say no. If they haven't heard it in a natural way from your life, then you have to say no. But when you say no in that way, it comes from a good space, a healthy space. And as I said, not from a reactionary space. And so to really, the core of it is to realize that at the core of my being, I am peace, I'm love. So if somebody is constantly taking away my so-called peace, then I have to look inside and say, do I not value my own peace? And so am I just allowing people to just take it away from me? If I value love, then I won't just get desperate in that way. Joy is saying something beautiful here. Know oneself first in order to develop respect. Know what we want to value. The deep, real sense of the self-respect also develops empathy. respect for the other, and your sharing of this has made me come to be able to differentiate the deep and true real respect versus the aggressive walls upcoming from a reactive need to control others, consistency based on love. Thank you, Joy. You summarized beautifully, and you helped me understand also what I've shared. Thank you. So, it's like what you are at the very core, don't lose it. Because when you lose your peace, you lose your love, you lose your inner power, you lose your inner joy, then you are putting yourself in a very vulnerable space. I find when you are able to be all this, then even people in your life will start treating you in a more natural space. But if there's an aggression in you and there's a reactive fighting energy inside of you, then those boundaries are just, they drain you. They make you tired. They make you feel awful. Okay. So any last thoughts from anyone? It was lovely. I think I was just sharing from my heart my own life's experience, and I'm sure this is what we had an opportunity to do this evening. Okay. If there isn't anyone, then we're going to end off with a little bit of meditation. I thank you for joining us this evening, and let's look at this journey more powerfully. Thank you.
Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
If you could see what I see, you'd lose your breath for sure. You are the perfect replications and the ones that I adore. I carved you from a diamond and polished you with love. Then I sent you out beyond the veil so you might choose the love. Oh, my sweet creations, your beauty makes me weep. Oh, my sweet creations, the whole world's at your feet. And one day soon you'll see it. If you could see what I see, you'd never lose your smile. For you walk in thy own footsteps when you walk that second mile. These are more than words, my love. This is poetry divine. My signature is everywhere, for all of life is mine. One day you'll see what I see, and you'll come to realize could see what I see, you'd lose your breath for sure. You are the perfect replications. You're the ones that I adore.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Om Shanti.
Om
Good
Shanti.
night,
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Good.
Shanti.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Om Shanti.
Shanti, good night.